Give me a sign. Now is the time.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Boomband Showcase. I'm your host, Jeff Taylor. We got a great set of guests today. I can't wait to jump right in. Let's go. Hey everybody, welcome to the Boomband Showcase. How we doing?
Hi guys,
Great.
welcome. Hi.
All right, I know you guys know the format. Introducing Madison. She's a sidekick. She also works as my chief of staff and runs data at Boomband. I know that she's gotten to talk with each of you and done a little mini interview, and she's got a synthesis ready of your backgrounds. This process is meant to be fun, and so I want to welcome each of you, and maybe Madison, you can kick us off.
Absolutely. Welcome, guys. Like Jeff said, it was great getting to chat with you to do our little pregame. We have three amazing players joining us today. So first, we have Ned Hogan. He is coming from New Hampshire, and he is in medical sales. Then we have Dana Nowader. She's actually a fellow Arizona girl like me, so it's so fun to finally have another Arizona a friend on the show. And Dana is a senior HR leader. And last but not least, we have Harry Evans. Harry is joining us from the San Jose Bay Area in California, and he is a sales leader. So welcome. We're going to have a lot of fun today, and it's going to be a great show.
Awesome.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Let's kind of get it started. One of the things, I was looking at each of your resumes, and I looked at each of your LinkedIn profiles. You're just starting to build out your dossiers on Boomband. And one of the things I noticed is their AI is not really in sight. And so I wanted to get a little flavor from each of you. What do you think about that? Is that okay? Is that not okay? And I'll give my sense too. But Dana, kick us off.
Yeah, so AI, I feel like I'm still pretty new at it. Been working on building trust with it a little bit, being in HR, and I know it's newer in general. So working on building that, but looking really at it as more of a relationship and a tool that is available. I really been using AI more for helping to with communications and making sure things are clearer and those types of things. And so, there hasn't really been too much AI built into HR tech too much yet, at least not that I've used. I think that's still fairly new. So for me, it's more about at this point, building that trust and that relationship. It's like, and with any like new relationship, it's building that trust.
Yeah. So how do you build that trust? Do you use ChatGPT? Do you use Claude?
I use ChatGPT and mostly just start chatting with it. Like I do a lot of I have a random question and I don't want to ask anybody kind of thing. It's usually like a personal silly question. And I'm like, I actually like that answer. And I feel like the more I've used it, the more it has gotten to know me. And so, I think that's how I've been building that trust. Or if I'm like, I don't like this sounded too, stale or, and I'm very emotional and I use my hands a lot and all of that. And it doesn't really sound like me. And so I've been able to use it more to be like, make it sound like me. I'm not a robot. So I've been doing a lot of that and just trying to, build trust with it.
Yeah, that's great. Harry, how about you?
Yeah, well, first of all, the reason I don't put it up there is AI, I feel like, is the sexiest and most dangerous word in sales right now. And so it's always going to come up anyway, and it's something that I feel like it means something different to every person who reads about it. So that's why I don't advertise it too much. But for me, I primarily use ChatGPT and Clay, and I'm also experimenting with Claude a little bit, so I'd say the 3 C's for me.
Yep.
I use ChatGPT more for the creative side, for brainstorming, for new messaging ideas,
Yep.
Tonalities, things like that. I trust myself mostly to do those things, but it's like having 100 people to crowdsource an idea with right away. Whereas I use Clay more for process and systems things. My favorite expression is I'm lazy and I work really hard to stay that way. And, if there's a process I have to do 100 times in a day, you can bet I'm going to probably end up plugging that thing into Clay and finding a way that I never have to click that button again. So those are my main uses.
Yeah, what about any sort of external certification, any training outside of your own exploration? What are your thoughts on that?
Are you asking if we have them or what we think about those
Well,
trainings?
one of the things that you said is that AI is both sort of like the thing that's in the now and it's also potentially a negative, right? And the thing I am seeing is people starting to put that they either took a LinkedIn class or they took a certification at one of the colleges. And I'm starting to see people expressing their interest in leveling up with AI. And I think that's the thing I was looking for on each of your resumes, not so much the kind of flashy, like, okay, is it installed in HR tools? It's like, is it getting installed in your head and thinking about this? Because I think this is going to be a big conversation in your interviewing process, both the good, the bad, and the ugly. But I think it's good for you to have a basis so you can actually join into that conversation. Ned, I'm coming to you.
Okay.
What's your personal experience and what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I use limited, and I use what I usually do. I use a Chat GBT, and I will write something and then put it in Chat GBT to make me look like I have a master's in English on it. But being that I'm in sales, and Harry, I think you're in sales too. It's all about the relationship building. So
Yep.
people buy from people who they want to buy in. But I kind of use it with a grain of salt in a way. And one prime example on a personal level, had a bunch of couples. We all got together, and we had a billiard competition. And it was like throw it all in, and I'm like, how am I going to fix the brackets up? And I started doing it on a piece of paper. Okay, A plays B, C plays D, E's out. Okay, now E's in, and then we put it in Chat GBT, and boom!
Sounds like an intense
Boom.
couples therapy, right?
It took the billiard. It took the 5 couples to put it all, and it did all the brackets to the whole thing, and it really was kind of fun. And what I actually did in the thing is separate out couples. It was like a $10 per couple in, so $50 on the line, and we separated out the couples by doing 1 through 10, and then the women pulled the cue balls out, and then we matched up the numbers. But Chat GBT and the AI just made it so much easier. But big picture, I see AI as the next industrial revolution.
Yeah. Yeah, I think especially in sales for two of you, but also in human resources, I think there's, like we've talked about, there's some controversy right now. But in sales, I'm getting 10 companies a day that are trying to sell me lead gen, using AI sales tools. And so I think it's going to be a conversation in any interview process is like, how do we deploy AI so we keep the human in the middle, build that relationship, Ned, that you're talking about, but at the same time, get the efficiency level up because we can do a lot more. And I think that there's that expression, AI won't take your job, but someone that knows AI will. I think this is a good expression. It was very last fall. But I think that in combination with McKinsey did this study that basically said by 2030 that we're going to be 30% more productive with AI. And there's a sort of a relaxing component with that, which means, okay, so I'm going to get to do the things I really like to do. And some aspects of my pie chart will be able to be done by AI. Reality is, though, I think we're going to start to separate some employees that don't know or aren't curious about or not engaging with these tools are going to start to fall to the wayside. And I think you're going to start to see that there's corrections in these companies where you're going to have layoffs. And that curiosity, I think, can drive you to the front of the line. And that's what I'm kind of coaching a lot of people on, is that I think that that's important. I have to live that. That's our
I agree, Jeff. I think even I'm noticing it even more in job descriptions, like more and more it's not even part of the requirements, it's part of the role itself and the way that is in there. And I'm seeing it more and more in a lot more job descriptions than I have in the past, for sure.
Yeah. And I think there may be some watch out fors from an HR perspective. Like, so for example, let's pause on that or let's slow that part down till we understand more. There's the Workday lawsuit, the Eightfold lawsuit. There's things that are out there, right? In sales, I'm seeing like all guns blazing, how can we become more efficient? So All right. That's just my little sort of AI conversation. I think each of you should, I would suggest, you don't have to do anything, but I'd suggest reflecting on that and seeing ways that you might be able to kind of tie that in. All right. Let's go to Harry. How about one word? How long have you been out? How long have you been looking? And one word to describe your search, and then we'll come to your superpower and how they balance out.
Yeah, so I've been out for about 8 months, but I've been looking for about 4. I was fortunate enough for the first time in my career to be able to take a little break and get myself excited, motivated again. And I am now bored out of my mind and looking for my next role. And so you said one word to describe the job search currently, right?
Yeah, what's one word that you would use that's sort of like your gut feel right now with what's
Yeah.
happening?
I would say noise. I was going to use the word diluted, but I think noise is kind of a little more specific. I've been able to do things that felt really easy my whole career that made me stand out, and everyone was like, wow, that's so creative. And I thought, no, it's not. But those things don't work anymore. Nobody's going to take a phone call off a 5-second DM that you send them if they even read their DM, because they got 28 requests today from people and AI bots who are asking for a minute. Finding someone's phone number and getting them to answer a little trickier. And if you say it's about a role, maybe you finish the sentence before they say, call my HR person. So the old tricks aren't working quite the same way, or at least they're not working as easily.
Yeah.
And it's no longer about, it used to be for me, let me just get in front of someone, I'll talk my way into the role. It's just about crashing through this enormous amount of noise. People are worn down. Whatever you say has been said before. So trying to stand out from the noise is really the name of the game.
How many jobs have you applied for?
I'd say roughly probably 20. I have been pretty selective. I've looked through probably approaching 1,000, but probably only about 20 that I've applied for.
Okay. And then of that, have you gotten any interviews?
I'd say 60 to 70%, something like that.
60 to 70% you're getting interviews.
Yeah. Whereas it used to be almost every time. Like
Yeah.
if I apply to a job, I'm getting an interview.
Funny, I just did a post where I said, look, in 2014, 2016, you would apply to 5 jobs, you'd get 3 interviews, and 2026, you apply to 500 jobs and you're getting 3 interviews, right? And your kind of percentage is higher, and then there's the question of you're not yet at the point where you looked at 1,000 jobs but only applied to 20, right? And some people, as they get more challenged, are looking.
Yeah,
to apply for
I'm also an SDR leader as well as a sales leader, and so, I mean, if I can't be a little more proactive about chasing somebody down, who can, right? And so I'm going to do a little more than hit easy apply and hope that I get an email back. I mean, on easy apply, I'd say I've got about a 0.3% interview rate off
Right.
of submitting a resume there, but I'm at the very least going to go track down the hiring manager, the head of HR, or the head recruiter, get myself a free account on a sales engagement platform. There's plenty of them out there that you can sign up for free while you're job searching. A lot of them, I'm not going to name any names right now because they're all competing with each other, but at least one of them will come with free data, so you can find somebody's phone number and email address.
Yep.
So even today, even with all the AI out there, just doing that's going to make you stand out a little bit. And then, one extra step, maybe 2, and that's usually enough to get something. Maybe it's not an interview, but get a response, get a conversation, something.
It's good. So you're using your sales ability right in your job search, which is great. So how about a superpower?
For a superpower, I'm going to say something that has been said on your podcast before. I did my homework, but it was the only word that came to mind when Madness and I were speaking, and it's empathy, for sure. My biggest passion in life is behavioral analysis and body language. I love studying whether it's interviews, PR tapes, court videos, whatever. I love studying behavior, and I love breaking down cold call recordings, things like that.
Am I supposed to sit up right now? Is it you're evaluating me?
You guys are good. Nobody here is being interrogated today, so I'm just having a casual conversation. But it's so helpful these days in a world of AI and in a world of tech. I mean, when we talk about that noise, the noise is mostly not human sounding or feeling, at least. And so being able to have empathy whether it's for your audience, your prospects, your boss, the ELT,
Yeah.
the department leader somewhere else. I think that's really the thing that makes me stand out in an age where people are losing it
Yeah, I
rapidly,
think
unfortunately.
I was obviously a part of that episode where the woman talked about having empathy. And do you remember my advice for that?
I blitzed through about 5 episodes, so I can't
So
tell you I remember off the top of my head.
the main thing there is empathy is something that will come out. I don't know if it's an easy thing to lead out with as you're selling yourself to get a job, and some would disagree with me, right? But when I think about empathy, I think about seeing it through other people's eyes. And one of the things you've got to figure out is I see this through my eyes, and this is what I have to get done. And being able to draw out other people's points of view, it may help you with interview questions, might help you with the culture connection, the culture ad that you have with a person. That part of it I think is great. We're going to come back to this. I think noise and empathy is a great start. Dana, I'm coming to you. What are your thoughts?
About sorry,
Let
my
me
teenager just left and I'm a little distracted at the moment.
no problem. One word to
Okay.
describe your search, and then a superpower.
My one word I think would be uncomfortable, but in the best way. This search has, as you all were talking about earlier, I agree. This search, out of all the job searches I've ever had, is very different. It's pushed me to do things that I've never imagined doing, including going old school and walking a resume into an organization to try to get in front of somebody for a role that I was really interested in. Reconnecting with some people that I haven't spoken to in years. That's really uncomfortable for me because I'm very relationship oriented, and I tend to I'm not very comfortable asking for help. So that has made it very uncomfortable. Being on a podcast definitely is not something I've ever done before,
Yeah.
and very uncomfortable. But I'm trying to lean into all of the things that make me uncomfortable. And I think the job search this time around has really stretched me, grown me, and reminded me of how important it is to step into that uncomfortable and in order to be able to grow.
It's amazing. I get a lot of I'm frustrated, disappointed with the marketplace. You're uncomfortable as it relates to how you're going to put yourself into an uncomfortable position to learn and to potentially get that opportunity. That's very good. Superpower.
I would say that my superpower is that I make hard conversations human. I help employees and leaders navigate through tough situations so that they feel heard, supported, and able to move forward. So people come to me when they feel stuck, and I feel like it's my job to guide them safely toward that solution. And so it's something that I'm complimented on quite often from employees and managers alike.
Yeah. So can you take that uncomfortable feel and that ability to navigate? You're sort of riding that wave. It's actually very cool. I think it's a
Thank
nice
you.
combination. And I think if we look at the empathy and the noise, my guess is you all agree with the noise. And then, how do we navigate it with our superpower? And to remind yourself that I'm a good navigator, that I'm a good negotiator in those moments to get
Yeah.
people to make those hard conversations human. I think it's great. Ned.
In one word, it's going to be, I've been looking for 18 months
Yep.
and I have 20 years of experience, which all equals out to, I think it's ageism on my part. They see someone who's, has all of this experience, and, I've applied to over 250 different companies multiple times, 80 interviews. And then they say, I wish I trademarked. We found someone more suited to our capabilities or what we're looking for, only to find the job still listed, a month or two later.
Yeah.
So
I think one of the things I've talked about is every generation has challenges right now. Gen Z has a challenge. They don't have any experience. There just aren't jobs out there, right? And then you've got these kind of millennials and Xers that are like stuck in the middle. I sometimes call it the fat middle right? Where if you're trying to downsize, the idea of being a manager, an over the shoulder type manager during the pandemic really went away. And this middle group is trying to figure out, am I an individual contributor? Am I a leader, trying to find their way? I think for a little bit older worker, and I think that can be older X's, it can be boomers in any range. I'm a boomer. Is that there's this decision. I read an article, longer post that talked about networking as a older worker, and this idea that you go into a networking environment and you just sort of like don't fit in, and you're like in the corner, and what do you do? And I basically said, okay, I think you have to have a mindset shift here. There's got to be a new narrative where you're going to put yourself right in the middle of that conversation. This is introverted and extroverted challenges. I get that, right? But you're going to have to, you don't have to do anything. I always try to be clear about that, but there's an opportunity to put yourself in the middle of the action. And, Ned, we'll come back to it more. But I noticed of the groups, everybody uses LinkedIn differently. So if I remember right, Dana, you come over the top of other people's posts is sort of your way. And Harry, your way is, you post pretty regularly and try to, there's an entertainment value that's associated. And Ned, I think your last post was the Boomband holiday party,
Yeah,
and before
I'm
that it was
terrible
6
at
months.
it.
Okay, so this is a skill, right? This is a mindset shift and a plan that you put together. I post every day on LinkedIn. It is a plan. It is not an easy thing to do, and to push and press and to, in your mind, be thinking about what you're doing. But I think this is going to be something that we could work on with you, Ned, that would be great for you. And so I think ageism is a lump, and I want you to break out of the lump and make it much more specific about Ned. So let's talk about your superpower, because we may need to draw on that here.
I would say perseverance. When you've been looking this long, and if you're in sales, no only means no today. And each no that you get is getting you closer to your yes on it. So it's just the perseverance to just keep grinding. And friends of mine are like, how do you do it? How do you get up in the morning and do it? And I kind of look like, well, what else am I going to do?
Right. So then there's that insanity quote.
Yeah. And I've tried a lot of ways that Harry and Dana have done too. I've walked a resume in to a place and dropped it off. I've done my networking with people. I've done apply online. I've targeted companies. I've worked with recruiters, and one thing I've also done on the interviews. How do you stand out? How are you that orange piece of paper in a ream of white papers? And when in a job interview, what I've done, because I'm in sales, when they said, "Do you have any questions?" I said, "How about if we just role play here for about 3 minutes?" And we just go through a role play of me introducing myself. I'm a people person. Aside at the end, I'll tell you a story about you and myself, Jeff. But I just do a role play in the interview, and they said no one's ever done that before.
Great.
On it.
Right.
And that I'm that orange piece of paper. And one day Jeff and I were at Monster one day, though Jeff probably didn't know me, and we actually went down the elevator together. And you were doing something on your phone, and I was just going down the elevator, and what was it, 5 floors?
Yeah.
And I didn't say hello to you or anything like that. And it was just
27 seconds.
Yeah. And
I timed it. It killed me.
Yep.
Because I had 1,000 employees, 27 seconds up and down that 5 floors, right?
And we walked out, we went our separate ways. And from that period, I always said, I'm going to make it so I can create a conversation in an elevator.
And did we have a conversation?
No, we didn't. But
whoa, okay.
But the best way to do that, unless you're going into an elevator with someone who has a bunch of food, say, oh, well, in case this elevator stops, we can eat.
Right.
But I always do it where I say to someone in an elevator, I wish the keep door open button was bigger than the closed door button, because I'm inevitably going to hit the close button as you're trying to get in the elevator. And just from something like that, you can create that conversation.
Yeah, that's great. So just a quick side story. I don't know why I'm in this mood today, but I had this thing at Monster. After about 300 employees, I had a harder time getting to know people's names. And so one of my ideas was I would introduce myself to people in the elevator. And so I started introducing myself and saying, hi, I'm Jeff, or whatever. And then people would say, you met me in the elevator 2 weeks ago. I'm like, okay, this is not a good strategy. I got to figure something else out because I was busy and, whatever. So it doesn't surprise me. I was probably on a BlackBerry. That's cool. So you're a monster. Thank you for your service. I think that's great.
Great experience.
I love what we're doing here. Like we're just kind of putting it out there, and it's not easy. And what I'd like to do is let's take each of you into a breakout room, and Madison will come. She's had a conversation with you. We'll have some fun together. I think I may have mixed up my papers. Are we doing Harry, Dana, Ned? Is that the plan?
Dana, Ned.
Okay, so Harry, you're going to come in with us. And then you're going to come back and tag Dana. Stay here if it's okay. And then Dana, when you're done, you'll come back and you'll tag Ned, and then we'll all meet back here afterwards. So you can talk amongst yourselves. I always laugh because Brian's in the background as our producer, and so he's listening. So you can say hi to Brian if you want to, but get to know each other. And what I found is that the teams that are on the show end up helping each other, and it's great. So I'm excited. Let's go off to the breakout rooms. We'll see you in a minute.
Hey, Harry, welcome to the breakout room.
Thanks for having me.
We are happy to have you here. And you were just sharing with Jeff and I while we were coming in that you're actually going to be thinking about doing your own podcast. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I'll keep the name to myself for now until I get some type of work done on it. But yeah, I think there's a lot of podcasts out there that are pretty generic. This one is not one of them. And I wanted to bring something a little different to the space. So it's going to be about kind of staying human in a modern selling era.
Yeah, it's funny. We were brainstorming about how could we help job seekers, and there just wasn't anything like this. And it's very low volume. Like it's not perfect for Boomband where we're trying to reach thousands and thousands. But I think it's authentic, and it's storytelling, and that's something that I think is magical. So I think that part of it is great.
I think you're doing two things. I mean, number one, you're doing something that's badly needed. When we were just talking about how hard it is for us to get out there and get people to know us. And then number two, you're bringing, you're really just bringing, I talked about empathy earlier. You're bringing empathy to a space that is lacking it pretty heavily. So it's really nice to see what you guys are doing. And it's also just casual. Like this isn't, I didn't feel like I had to do 20 hours of prep for this conversation. It's not super intense. It's just a nice way to talk.
Yeah, but we're just getting into it. So watch out.
Right. You're going to regret that here soon, Harry.
All right. Madison, our format, it. Maybe Madison can kind of take advantage of the conversation she had with you and kind of share your background.
Absolutely. So this is what I put together. You don't just build sales teams, you study them. As you mentioned earlier, you have a background in psychology. You also have a background in physics. So you approach revenue like a system with forces, probability, and momentum. But you read people like a poker player because that is what you used to be. You were a professional poker player days. You became fascinated with behavioral analysis, how people decide, how they hesitate, how they reveal more than they might be intending to do. But that obsession never left. You believe that sales are both an art and a science. Data and discipline are on one side, and human psychology and persuasion are on another. Your edge is blending these two into systems that actually perform. When you landed your first sales role, cold calling alumni at Berkeley, you shattered records within your first year, and you quickly realized that you found your calling. That was the moment that the sales bug bit you, and there's been no turning back since. Since then, you've built and rebuilt revenue engines at scale, led global teams of more than 450, raised standards across organizations, and mentored leaders who are now leaders themselves. You've worked across continents. You've even flown to the UK on the very first day of a job to go to an F1 race event, which I thought was pretty cool. And you really do like that global aspect that's fast-paced and high performance. And while you're thoughtfully exploring what's next, there's no slowing you down. You recently launched the Silicon Valley San Jose chapter of SDR Leaders of the USA. As we just touched on, you're developing a podcast, and you enjoy dissecting PR statements with a strategic eye. You stay sharp through rock climbing and your years of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So that just shows discipline, grit, and mental toughness aren't just hobbies for you, they're a part of how you operate. You're an Eagle Scout, so you always believe in earning your wins. Even at home, leadership shows up. You have your blue-nosed pit bull, Sirius, and Sirius is always the star student in the puppy social classes. So even though your path to where you are might be a little unconventional, your perspective is different, and that is what makes you stand out in a crowd. You know what it takes to win. It's not just the game of sales, but the long game of building teams that grow, adapt, and outperform. I think your approach that you take with the behavioral analysis is so unique, and I'm excited to dig in more, and welcome to the breakout room, Harry.
You take some really solid notes, Madison. Thank you. Yeah, I think that's a solid summary and more complimentary of me than I would have even made it myself. So thank you.
Anything that she's missing kind of in synthesizing your background?
Well, I've got an eclectic background, so I could spend hours and hours talking about random things, but I think overall it's a good synthesis. You know, for me, I'm still a kid in my head. I'm still the kid figuring everything out every day. I love learning. I love trying new things and creating new things and building. And so whether it was the rock climbing and the jiu-jitsu and things like that, or whether it's sales or anything else or poker, it's all just a big puzzle to me. And I think that's why I don't get worn down as much, whether it's a job search or figuring out a new set of prospects or whatever. Sales has never stayed the same. It's always been a puzzle. And, you know, whatever the new technology is next 5 years, next 10 years, used to be Salesforce, and then it was sales platforms like Outreach, and now it's AI. In 5 years from now, there'll be something else that everyone thinks is going to make the sky fall. But that's what I love about sales.
Yeah, let's there were a couple things that stood out for me. And I saw this in your resume too, that you shattered your goal in one of your jobs. That's an interesting word. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, so my very first job, I was studying, and forgive the sounds in the background, my little pit bull is...
Oh, gets to make an appearance.
So at the time, I was playing poker for a living, back before the poker boom. I was studying physics. You know, I didn't know I liked dealing with people and talking to people and all that, but I had out-of-state tuition to pay at Berkeley, which means you have to have a work-study program for $8 an hour, and somehow part-time that's supposed to pay $55,000 a year. So for a strong math program, I don't know who did the numbers over there, but it doesn't quite add up. So that's why I was playing cards on the side. Anyway, I just found it immediately made sense to me. People were reading these generic pitches to people who couldn't hang up fast enough. And I developed a pitch that had some empathy. It actually talked about them and what would help them. And it pretty much got to the point where if somebody answered the phone, you're at least given $100 to Cal. That was it. You're not getting off the phone without it. The record when we got there was around around 120,000 in a year that somebody raised. And to this day, one of my close friends is still mad at me because he raised almost $250,000 that year, basically doubled the record in a single year. But he never got any accolades because I raised about $550 that year. And I also raised a $250,000 endowment that I couldn't get paid for because it was a different department. But so he never got a pat on the back for an incredible job. And I think it's fair to say I smashed the records. It was about 4.5 times the total previous.
Yeah.
Really cool.
I saw Eagle Scout in there. Is there... I don't hear much conversation about people being Eagle Scouts today, but I still see it like in some people's resumes. What what did that do for you? Is that still relevant? Would you tell someone who was in junior high, go get your Eagle Scout? That's good.
That's such an interesting question, and the Scouts have changed today, and there's all sorts of politics that we don't have to get into. And
Yep. Yep.
but the I'd say there's two parts to it. The first is why it's on my resume. It's a lottery ticket. 25-30% of people really care, and the other people
Yep.
couldn't care less. And you never know
Right.
who's who. I find slightly older generations care a little bit more. When
Yep.
people know what it means a lot to them. It means that you're trustworthy. It means you're going to follow through,
Yep.
hardworking. And for anyone else, don't bother bringing it up. Like, just let it go because they don't care.
Yeah.
So that's what it is for me. It's that kind of lotto ticket. If it matters, it'll help. What it
Yeah, that's
did
great.
for me is more than that. I grew up not wealthy, but not underprivileged either. And doing that whole project, it really exposed me to a lot of new ideas, new ways of thinking. I did a really cool Eagle Scout project using rock climbing to rehabilitate children with really serious muscular disorders and things like that. So it's just, when you're under 17 years old, you don't know what's going on in the world. So just exposure
No.
to something like that was great. And I think it built some character.
As quick side story, my dad was an Eagle Scout. He really advocated for it for me. I had long hair, and I grew up outside of Boston in a town called Needham. And the first day I showed up at Boy Scouts, they said you have to cut your hair. And my hair was about at my shoulders, and my parents were like very liberal and whatever. And my dad said, effectively, like, fuck it, like, don't do it, because that's terrible. That's not what I remember about becoming an Eagle Scout.
You must
So,
have had like an ex-military scoutmaster or something like that, and every troop is different depending on the scoutmaster.
oh yeah,
If someone said that in my hometown, they probably would have been run out of town. So that's unfortunate you had to deal with that, but crazy they would have you cut your hair.
I saw on one of your posts that you launched an SDR leaders of the USA. What that sounded cool. I didn't dig into it, but tell me about that.
Yeah, that's a new thing, and it's something that I'm just launching right now. I have found with networking, it's one of those things that it's a long-term game, not short-term.
Yeah.
You don't network with someone who has the job that you want and they hire you and that's the end of it. And I think that's what's frustrating, especially, we were talking to Ned a minute ago. He was talking about some of the challenges for older generations as well.
Yep.
It's kind of like playing no limit poker. You don't play to win every hand. Sometimes you play to win one hand the whole night, but if there's enough money in that hand, it doesn't matter. And the interview process is kind of the same way. You just have to get lucky once. You just have to find your home once, and it's okay if you miss 100 times before that. So I think SDR Leaders of America for me is a group that thinks that way as well. It's not a group that's just throwing business cards or virtual business cards in each other's faces. It's a lot of people who I've already known, who I've brainstormed with over the years, who just help each other. One of the ways I've gotten a lot of those interviews is finding someone there who's connected at a company.
Well,
I'm
and that's
looking
how
at.
we
Yeah.
connected too, Harry, because Casey, another player who was on the podcast, he's part of SDR Leaders, and then he connected Harry and us. So I mean, it really just shows the power of that connection.
That's the network. Yeah,
Exactly.
and then you heard about it, and then you acted on it, right? There's like a triple motion here. Actually, when Casey was on the show, he was actually referred from another one of our guests, Tony.
Yeah.
And so Tony refers Casey, Casey refers you. This is
So now who
this
are
is
you
how
going
it's
to refer,
supposed to
Harry?
work. That really
You got to
is
keep the
the
chain
network,
going.
right?
Everyone,
Yeah.
I'm going to be blasting this out so everyone
Yeah.
sees my smiling face. So I'll be referring a ton of
Oh, yeah.
people.
I don't usually look at majors, but you were a physics and astrophysics major. That's your degree. How do you end up in sales? Just talk to me about, is there a certain sort of way that you think? Did that make you good at poker? Did that help you with the way you approach sales? I don't know. Is it all connected?
It's very all connected. And, how I ended up, first of all, I love studying physics. Actually doing it is very different. It's mostly manual labor in a lab 14 hours a day.
Yeah.
So once I got past the learning part, I said, this isn't what I want to really, really do. Madison and I talked about when we first met was I think I love mixing the right and left sides of the brain. And I think that you see most sales leaders and SDR leaders come from a background that's really right side of the brain. They're talkers, they're empathy people, they love coaching. Put them in front of a tech system or try to figure out with data how to improve a process and refine it. Maybe they're not that strong there. And then you got the others who are the opposite. And so for me, I like having that science background. I like that I grew up as an introvert. I think it helps me have those internal monologues and think about how other people might be thinking and what they might be saying.
Sure.
That physics helps a lot. Looking at data and understanding what it all means and what it doesn't mean is sometimes even more important to avoid. So I bring that background with me. I bring kind of a systems approach. I bring scientific thinking to problem solving. But then on the other side, like I said, if you don't also have that people person skill, I mean, we've all known scientists that we knew for a fact weren't going to be able to sell anyone anything. So that's how it kind of weaves in.
Yeah, it's very cool. I mean, I think to some extent, you're having that physics background and that logical, analytical mind, as well as being able to apply, maybe social is not quite right, but targeted communication. I think it's a really interesting
The
combination.
psychology and the behavioral analysis that you've also grasped, and then your poker background still, I just find so fascinating to bring into these conversations because you can read people. And a lot of people don't have that skill. And for you to have the physics background, but then you have the ability to read people, and it makes you stand out from the crowd.
Well, thank you. One thing I'll say about both of those points on the physics side, I think one of the things about physics is you're exploring unsolvable problems, or at least problems that nobody has ever solved before. And that's what I loved about it. And now I think it's really helped me keep an even keel dealing with whether it's a job search or any sales dilemma you ever have. They're all unsolvable problems. People freak out because they don't have the answer. And you just kind of go, okay, well, let's think about it some more. Let's brainstorm some more. And so then to your point, Madison, being able to kind of transition over from a scientist to a people person, a poker player, things like that. In a way, they're almost the same thing. It's like you're doing science, but on the human brain instead of on a system. And that's why, a lot of people think that means that when I'm talking to them, I'm studying their body language. I'm not taking notes. I don't know which way you guys look when you're telling, when you're thinking about memory versus your problem solving. I'm not going to figure it out. But on sales and call recordings and things, you've got video, you've got audio. You can go back and listen later. You can go back with somebody else and go, hey, let's actually watch this person instead of our slides now and think, what resonated, what didn't. So it's just so much fun for me to break all that stuff down.
Yeah, that's cool. Let's have a little fun. You could earn an achievement badge for something you've done. What badge would you like that to be?
I like that. That's a good question I haven't heard before. I think something that I don't get to talk about as much. I love mentoring. I've also benefited from being a mentee many times. When I was at Outreach, I not only had a great team of people that all mentored me, but I had two mentors that took me under their wing, Brian Gerard and David Brashears. Both of them are now pretty big names on LinkedIn. They're both extreme top performers as enterprise sellers and consultants, and it helped me a ton. I decided to try to be like that. And so I always make sure to mentor people at every job I go to. I like to have a lieutenant under me that's maybe learning how to be a manager and a leader and things like that. And so, there's very few compliments I can see better than seeing someone I mentored who saw themselves as a new kid just getting started, go land a job that makes 3 times as much, or learn how to manage a team of their own and get an accolade from their teammates. It's hard to
I
talk
think
about.
starting your SDR group is probably like the ultimate leaders, ultimate mentors thing, right?
Yeah, it's the best when you have an SDR that you go see how they're doing and you find out they're running a team, or hell, you mentor somebody that's hiring for a role that you're applying for now. It's funny how things can change. But yeah, when you're in SDR world, if you do your job really, really well, you lose your team every 18 months because they get promoted or they get scooped from somebody else.
Yeah. Yeah, I used to love that. I think that's a CEO's job as well to do that same thing. So, all right. One modern day item that you think will be ridiculous in 10 years.
Oof. This is an item? Let's see.
I'd say we have no rules.
Okay.
If you have a thing, if you have a experience, whatever you want.
Well, I'm going to go with a trend, I think, and let me know if this fits. And
Right.
it'll tie back to the answers I gave you earlier. I think when there's a new technology in general, and especially with the newest technology right now being AI, you can pretty much look back in history and there's often a shift away from being human and from having empathy. And I think right now that's very accepted in our space. Whether you're looking at hiring processes, I know you're going to talk to Sarah, she's in HR. Man, can HR departments think about this as well? You talk about sales, you talk about management. Honestly, the lens I can define most of it through is narcissism. You see companies, they don't know how to think like empathetic people anymore. I think that trend is really hot right now. And everyone's going to figure out how to use AI, and it's all going to get integrated just like sales platforms were and Salesforce before it and dialers before that. I think the idea that you can be pretty much inhuman and just run the numbers and the systems and in any of those spaces is going to die, and I don't think it's going to take 5 or 10 years. I think the pendulum went all the way, and now it's going to start swinging hard back to putting the humanity back in business.
So it's not AI that'll be ridiculous in 10 years. It's the idea that AI is not human and lacks empathy in the way, at least there's a perception of what's happening right now. In 10 years, it'll just be a learned tool that's out there.
I think that's part of it. I think mostly it's the idea behind the AI. It's the idea that AI is justifying not having empathy or being human in your processes. And I think AI will, as you said, adapt past that. And then also just the idea that that's acceptable, whether it's because of AI or the newest tool or a bad leader, it's just going to become very clear that that can't happen.
Well, at
right, there's
Boomband,
a
we
lot
believe
of
in bringing your
salespeople
whole
out
self.
there.
So yes, right, Jeff? Like, bring your whole self. So, you know, that's
Yeah, I mean, I think you're a pretty classic example when in telling your story that your story has a bunch of dimensions. You've got your puppy that's like important to you. You've got your poker playing, which actually creates a certain kind of like logic. You've got the physics background and backdrop. Got the Eagle Scout.
Jiu-jitsu.
You're a great candidate for telling your stories, right?
Thank you. Yeah, that's why I'm here. I mean,
Well, let me just
I
make
love
sure.
this.
Yeah, let me just make sure before we end that you shout what would be the ideal role for you. I'd really like to hear in your words if there was a company out there, come on, let's hire Harry. This is it.
Yeah, I appreciate it. That's a very not self-serving, the opposite. It's serving me, that question. So I appreciate that a lot. I was an AE for 12 years. I love selling things. I think like an AE. I led an AE team. What I found was my niche was sales development teams, because even when I was running AE teams, nobody knew how to build a pipeline. And I love building things, not blindly managing something that already works. So for me, it's about finding the kind of company that is still thinking about what they're doing. They're adaptable. For me, the number one thing I look at is leadership teams. Are they saying this is how we've always done things? Or this is how we've always done things, so break it and fix it. Anywhere I can build people up and build a special team that has that empathy we've talked about, that isn't stuck in the weeds with all the tools out there right now, but instead is using them to just communicate, I love it. Bonus points for being a lieutenant to a great leader, where they can trust me to go get things done when they can't. But overall, find me an SDR team with 10 to 60 people where I can teach them how to sound human in a modern era of selling, and I'm going to go set a lot of meetings that are going to lead to pipeline.
Great. Harry, thanks for being on the breakout.
Thanks so much, Harry.
We're going to come back and kind of close out, but will you go and tag Dana, bring her in?
I will. What you guys are doing is awesome. Just a quick pitch for you. This is understanding a need in a space right as it's emerging that nobody else is filling. And I have a feeling, right now you're getting people like me who no one knows yet. I have a feeling you're going to get a lot of demand really quickly. I think you're going to get grassroots interest as people like me promote it to our networks as well. And it's just a cool thing. So thank you for having me on.
It's our pleasure, and we couldn't do it without you, Harry. So,
Couldn't.
that thing, if you don't know what the content is, you're probably the content. This is actually a celebration of you as the content.
That comes from a poker expression. If you don't know the fish at the table, you're probably the fish.
Give me a sign.
How you doing?
Hey, Dana, welcome to the breakout.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
How's it going back in the main room?
Good, very good. Yeah, Ned and I were bonding about Monster. Even though we weren't there at the same time, we were, connecting on that and just talking about, the different, basically a lot of the same things we already talked about earlier. So it was good.
Very cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. I always say the same. Thank you for your service. I think 15 to 17,000 alumni out there, and
Yeah.
one of the things that's interesting is in my network, there's a lot of monster people, right? And so some of them end up on the show. So
And
we have
Dana
a
came to us
format.
from another monster, ex monster
Yep.
that was on Amy from a
Amy
few
was on
episodes back.
season
so-
4 or episode 4, I think.
Yeah.
I love that. Season 4. That'll be fun, Madison, when we get to that point, right? So we have a format. You and Madison have talked. I'm always jealous of this aspect of it because she's gotten to know you. And one of the things we were talking about initially was it's really hard to synthesize your background, right? And so if we ask somebody to tell their background, it's 10 minutes later and they're still going. So Madison, take it away.
Well, first off, we're both in Arizona, which I know I mentioned earlier, but for me, this is exciting because I feel like we get a lot of because we're based more in, Rhode Island, Boston. So I love that I have an Arizona girl on with me today. So, all right. So Dana, you build the people engine from the ground up. You started your career in recruiting and staffing, bringing in the talent that would shape an organization's future. You loved finding great people, but your real curiosity kicked in when you started asking a bigger question. Why do people leave companies? That desire to clean up the mess and understand the why behind retention, engagement, and culture is what led you to HR operations. You wanted to fully impact the entire organization. As a head of people and a strategic HR leader, you thrive at every stage of growth, especially when nothing exists yet, but everything matters at that point in time as you're building the team. You partner closely with CEOs and executive teams to design the systems, structure, and cultural backbone that allow organizations to scale with intention. You are both strategic and hands-on. 1 minute you're advising on organizational design, workplace planning, and compensation strategy. And then the next you're writing employee handbooks, building recruiting engines, creating performance frameworks, and launching analytics dashboards that bring all of those strategies to life. You've led through acquisition-driven growth across 27 states and global teams. You've built people operation functions in high-growth startups and supported workforces navigating rapid change. Whether it's M&A integration, leadership collaboration, or complex employee relations, you bring operational rigor and balance with cultural stewardship. But your leadership doesn't stop at work. You have serious mom power. You are a rock star mom to 4, a loving wife, and now a super fun grandma. Whether you're cheering from the volleyball stands for your daughter, vacationing in Southern California, or catching a live band with your husband, your family fuels you. As an English major, you love to read, and you actually shared with me that you read an average of 75 to 80 books a year, anything from fantasy to self-help. You hold your Master of Arts, you're SHRM certified, and you're currently serving as an advisory board member at Arizona Christian University. And we also talked about leaning into AI there, which is, again, kind of tying back to where we kicked off the showcase today, but you really have been leaning into AI and doing some AI studies at being on the advisory board. You really you don't help companies grow. You don't just help companies grow. You build the foundation that lets them scale with strength, clarity, and staying power. And now you're ready to do it again, and you want to find the right team for the long run and grow with them and grow the company. Dana, welcome. Let's dive in, and we're going to have a lot of fun.
Thank you. Madison, can I take you with me in an interview and you can tell them all of that? Because
you're the first one that can't, because I can come with you. I'll be your tag team in Arizona. We'll meet up. We'll have coffee. We'll go to the interview together.
We can even do the interview at your house. I'll even come to you. That's amazing. Perfect. Thank you.
We're actually having now people clipping these sections and sending it along with the resume, which is actually very cool.
Yeah.
So when do you read? How do you read?
Pretty
I mean, you're
much
reading
from the
a
second
book,
everybody
book a
gets
week.
home until, no, I'm just kidding. I spend a lot of time, at least a couple hours a day in the evening, usually, pop in my AirPods and while I'm cooking dinner or whatever. It's a great way for me to escape, and really, like, whether I'm working or not, I can escape into somebody else's issues that are usually way bigger than mine.
Do your kids read more because you read?
No, no, they read less. I'm not sure why. I'm hoping as they get older, they will read more, but especially because my two younger teenagers, and teenagers, I don't, there's a few
Do they
teenagers that
read?
read, but
I
they're rare.
I have 12 and 15-year-olds. I don't think they read much.
Right,
So
exactly. Yeah. So they not super avid readers right now, but hopefully as they get older and the kids get older, then maybe that'll change.
yeah. Couple things I noticed. You have a master's degree. You have a BA in English,
Mm-hmm.
and and I ask this question sometimes: was getting a master's, was that important in your role? Did that give you some new perspective? People ask, should I go get a master's right now? Because a lot of people are out of work. They're like, maybe I should go back to school, fill this void. So what
Yeah,
do you
so
thought?
for me, I think I've always loved learning since I was a little girl. I've always wanted to keep growing and learning and developing. And so my motivation wasn't necessarily for work. It was more so because my master's is in adult training and education. And so it was really a way for me to learn how to help train adults and speak to adults and what adults are wanting to learn and help develop and things like that. So for me, it was more of wanting to learn more of how I can help people.
Yeah. Um, I'm enjoying some aspects of your backstory. One of them was you were an HR consultant during the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me what that was like, because that must have been sort of a crazy trip.
Yeah, so unfortunately, that was my first time being laid off, and my the VP that I worked with at the time, she had great connections with a bunch of people in the industry in HR, and she helped me to get into one of the contracts that I was doing, and then I was able to get my hands on another one, and it allowed me to, while I was still trying to look for a job over that time, it gave me an opportunity to keep my skills fresh, to dig into other things. It was a much smaller nonprofit organization too, and so I was still able to learn and grow from the nonprofit side and ask questions and help them get what they needed and look at ATS systems. And so it helped to keep my mind busy. And unlike this time where I'm not doing that, it helped me to stay focused and keep my skills strong while I looked for work.
Yeah. I see you've been a head of people operations, you've been a head of HR, you've been a director of HR, and a head of people. Any difference in these? Are these interchangeable? I think
Yeah,
this
there's
is an
not.
area that people are
Yeah,
challenged by.
Yeah, there's not really a difference. I think it really comes down to the size of the company. What I've been historically, I've been mostly with small startups, and so I've been a department of one, or I've been a leader with like one or two HR coordinators or payroll person or something like that reports to me, but I'm overseeing all of HR. And so that's typically been my types of roles. If I were to go to a larger company and do that, I wouldn't maybe necessarily be the head. I might report to a VP, things like that. And so the responsibilities that I've had though have all been the same. I've been coming in and building and or redesigning or restructuring if it's a mess. That's where I want to be. And so the responsibilities I've had have been the same.
Yeah. I'm looking at, and we mentioned it out front, but one of the things I noticed on LinkedIn is even though you're out and looking, I don't think I asked you how long you've been out.
I've
How
been
long have you
out
been
for
looking?
2 months, a little over 2 months.
Okay. So you're still pretty new in the process. One of the things I've seen on LinkedIn is you're helping other people that are out of work. I see you kind of reposting their work, and I always see that as a really good sign that even when you're out in your own struggle and struggling well, that you're really helping other people. So I want to compliment that.
Thank you.
I'd like to see you try a couple of original posts. One of the things I mentioned is that you're reposting other stuff, but maybe not taking that risk. You have this veterans focus where you've got some real expertise. I think that's a really that's a important area right now where you have a lot of veterans who are out of work or aren't as many jobs that you might have a point of view.
Yeah.
I also think you have a lot of experience in HR. I like the way you wrote it in your summary, like in 0 to 1 and 1 to N, right? And so there might be some, okay, there are going to be a lot more startups over the next 5 years. I think this is going to be good for you. But there may be some writing you could do about that that would make you an expert, not make you one. It would allow you to have that voice of an expert
Right.
in talking about what does it take in a small company that presses the accelerator, goes from 15 to 100 to 300, and what have you learned? So those are just some suggestions from kind of looking at your background.
Yeah, no, that's a great suggestion. Honestly, it has been something I've been mulling over for the last few weeks, and as part of this like stage of uncomfortableness that I'm in, that's one of the other things is like, okay, next step to getting uncomfortable is write that subject matter expert article. And one of the things I've been mulling over is like, what do I talk about? And so I really appreciate that feedback, because I agree. I think there's some things I could really highlight and showcase. And so I appreciate that. I'll definitely get that done in the next couple of weeks. Prioritize it.
I also think you mentioned off air that you have more of an AI resume, and then the resume that I was holding does not have AI. And so maybe there isn't a two-sided angle here. Maybe this all should be one, right? And so how do you genuinely tie in? And I wouldn't. I want to be careful, because I'm going to make a recommendation that you might say, okay, that might put me at risk. So I want to ouch it in that way. I'd love to see you talk about your AI understanding and your AI exploration and thinking about that as a resource, but not necessarily overstating, right? And so just figuring out a way to solve that little piece of the puzzle. I think it'll help you. And I think as you're getting interviews, that'll become a conversation topic. But, let's talk about this together. Nobody has the answers, right?
Yeah.
Let's talk about this together. And if you become a resource and have a point of view, I think that would be good.
Yeah, I
what's
think the challenge with resumes in general is that you've got to keep them under 2 pages, and you got to try to get all this information in there. And when I'm leading the entire department and building it from scratch, it's really hard to get that into 6 bullets. And so trying to really focus on the bigger things that I've done, and then so I've been juggling with that. To your point, I know that is where we're going, and it's important to mention, and I think seeing it everywhere in job ads as well. And so I think it's hard to find that balance of I have the interest and the knowledge and the understanding, and I'm working on those things without it being the biggest highlight on my resume, because it's a really small part of my background.
Yeah. So sometimes a really small part of your resume is important from a strategic positioning.
Yeah.
Right. Like if you think about if you could weave it into your summary, it's sitting as an overview, I think would be good. Also, we're just starting to talk about the dossier and Boomband. Not the primary reason to be here, but it's for sure going to become more a part of the story. In the dossier, you could actually talk about, here's a 0 to 1 experience that's as a project. Here's a 1 to N experience in a project. And here are the companies where I did those. And you could support those stories. One of the things I find about a resume, you have a story. It becomes a paragraph. It becomes a sentence. It becomes a keyword. That's it. All you got in the resume is the keyword, right?
Right.
But what I want you to do is reverse that back out and tell that story in your dossier on Boomband. And so as you're building that, I know you're starting. I really want to encourage you to tell those stories, and that's really a big part of the premise of Boomband. Is tell the stories. You're telling them right now.
Yeah.
Right? So,
Yeah.
all right. I want to make sure we have a little fun here. And what I'm just sort of customizing this for you is if you could have a dream dinner with any one of your characters from any book that you've read. So I need to give you a second to think about
No,
this.
you don't.
Okay.
Oh,
Who would that dinner be with?
So I'm literally spacing his name, of course, right now. I recently read a book, and the main character, oh my gosh, why am I spacing his name? It's on the tip of my tongue. I thought I had it, and then I lost it. Oh my gosh.
Well, you can't have dinner with the guy if you can't figure out who it is.
I know.
So,
I literally
I'm
cannot
gonna let
even
you.
believe
I'm
I'm
gonna let
forgetting
you
his name.
come. I'm gonna let you come back to it because I have
Okay.
another question. So, if your friends in high school could like see you now, what would they say?
I think they would probably be not, they'd be like, is this the same person that we went to high school with? I think they would, a lot of me is still the same for sure. And the way that I interact with people and care for people and all of that. But I don't think that they would have expected me to, run an entire department and being able to do all the things that I'm doing and all of that. So I think there'd be a little bit of a surprise, but also like it also makes sense kind of thing. So yeah.
Yeah, very cool. Do you keep in touch with high school friends?
I do. Yeah. I keep in touch with quite a few of them, and I'm really grateful for that. And I went to a really small high school, and so that helped a lot because we all really, connected in high school and stay in touch and stuff. So yeah, I'm mostly on Facebook and things, but yeah, or when I would go back home.
I had 650 in my high school class.
Oh, wow.
And so it was so big. You just didn't know everyone, even in your own class.
yeah.
I had 280 in mine.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. How many did you have?
We had
How many were in your class?
96, 97, something like
Oh,
that.
yeah.
It was definitely under
Wow.
100.
That's sort of good.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. All right, I'm coming back to that dinner.
I thought of his name.
Awesome.
So I'm going to have dinner with Denny Voss. He was a character that I just fell in love with and really, like, literally wanted to crawl through the book and hang out with him and get to know him. And so, yeah, it would definitely be Denny Voss.
And what book is it?
It's called The Sideways Life of Denny Voss. It's by Holly Kennedy. And it is just the sweetest story about a guy that is he has a high functioning disability, and just things keep happening to him over and over and over again, and he's it's hilarious. It's one of those books where you're literally laughing out loud and crying and like you just want to crawl through the book. So definitely would be Denny Voss.
What would your burning question be for Denny if you had a chance?
I think I would ask him what, I guess just what was his favorite childhood story, just so that I could try to understand a little bit more, because this was more of things that were happening to him as an adult, and kind of what led him to get to where he's at. So, yeah.
All right, let's paint a picture for Dana here. I think you're looking for a job as a head of people in a fast growth startup that is just ready to take off. And you want to make sure that you can get your hands on people analytics, but you also want access to the senior team because you've got ideas. And you would bring your uncomfortable learning right to that job. How did I do?
Very good. Very good. I would say though that the one other aspect would be I love M&A. I love being a part of the integration with when companies come in and employees are coming in, just because I understand that feeling of I'm going into a new company. I don't know this company. They're changing everything and and those are the things that I'm trying to constantly help employees feel good about anyway, whether they're joining the company or they've been a part of it. And so being a part of that integration process has been a great challenge. And so, yeah, anything like that where I'm really helping employees get comfortable and build and, yeah.
Right. All right. Well, let's end it here. I just want to say it's a pleasure getting to know you in the breakout session. And Dana, we wish you the best. We'll talk about how people can get in touch with you, but Dana's ready to work.
Yes, I am.
Thank you for being on the showcase. You're going to go back to the main room.
Okay.
And you're going to go get Ned.
All right. We'll do.
See you
Thank
back
you
there.
so much.
Thanks,
Okay.
Dana.
There we
Hey,
go.
Ned, welcome. You're here.
Yes.
Yeah. So welcome to the breakout. How's it going?
Not too bad. Not too bad. Nice connecting with Dana and Harry.
Nice.
Yeah, I think this has been one of those kind of surprises of doing the show.
Yeah.
Is that the B-roll, the relationships that are forming, it's a good confidence boost to have somebody else that's kind of in the foxhole with you that's out looking. And, so that part of it I think has been fun.
Yeah, I was.
So
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Nope, it's your show.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying, the format of the show. You've spent a little time with Madison. Why don't we kind of invite her to kind of share your background, and then maybe you can listen to what she's sharing, and if she misses anything, please chime in.
Yep.
Awesome. Well, with more than 20 years of experience, you've built your career at the intersection of healthcare, compliance, and consultative sales. And you know how to win in complex environments. From managing multi-million-dollar territories to working alongside hospital supply chains, GPOs, and clinicians, you understand how purchasing decisions are really made. You've consistently exceeded quotas, whether you're building relationships across 100 or more hospitals a year, negotiating pricing across diverse medical portfolios, or guiding customers through compliance requirements. You believe in building trust first, and then revenue follows. You've led, you've mentored, you've presented, you've negotiated, and you've closed, always grounded in long-term relationships and real value. You like to level up daily. You read constantly, and you have earned your MBA in marketing. And you know how to compete. This mindset shows up in your personal life as well, on the ice each season with the same hockey crew that you've been playing with for years. Competition, camaraderie, and yes, you might have a little barbecue and have a little bit of fun afterwards, but this is truly where you like to shine. You enjoy skiing, you're an avid cyclist, and you've even taken bike repair classes. I got the sense from some of the quotes that you did while we were chatting, you're a movie buff, and you're also a natural networker, and you like to be a part of the local Chamber of Commerce. You also shared with me that one of the highlights was that you've even rented a car to Mick Jagger during one of your college jobs. So clearly, even back then, hustling has always been a part of your story. Your dedication runs deep. You've saved every concert and sporting event ticket stub over the years. You have 3 boxes worth, one for concerts, one for sporting events, and then one entirely devoted to just the Grateful Dead. While you're exploring what's next, your heart shows up in a different way. You're spending your days driving a special needs child to school, really investing your time where it matters the most. You're looking for something meaningful, a role where you can make an impact and put decades of experience to work in ways that truly matter. At your core, you're a sales professional who understands that healthcare isn't just about products, it's about partnership, compliance, and outcomes. When you show up, whether at work or on the ice, you show up ready to win. So let's dive in more. Welcome to the breakout, and we're going to have some fun.
Oh, boy. Can't top that too much.
Anything that she's missing before we dive in?
No, I think she pulled stuff out that I forgot about.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about medical sales. You have shifted into that area.
Yep.
Just tell me about what that experience is like and what makes you good at that job. And Do you have to get to know the products inside and out? Like I can learn here. I don't know.
Yeah. No, it is when I was with Cardinal Health. And that is, one question I always ask people when I'm doing an interview, what on my resume caught your eye that has us having the conversation right now? And they say, well, Cardinal Health.
Right.
It's a very well known company. So when you're going into the hospital, it usually starts off at like the purchasing department. And they need to be compliant with their purchasing groups, their buying groups that they're part of. But then you have to work through a value analysis committee, which could be like 12 people. And then the nurse educator, and then the head nurse, and do all that. And then you might be doing demonstrations of the product to the staff, which I've always said, and to prove I'm not shy about getting out there and going on the road, walking through a hospital at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning and teaching a nurse how not to stick themselves with a needle. And they go, oh, I know how to do this. And I said, well, let me just show you. It'll take me just a couple of seconds. And you got to persuade them into sitting and listening to you for a second. And it does take like a few seconds. And they go, oh, I didn't know about the safety features on that. So you're kind of doing that, but you're working all the rooms. And there was one I was doing it, and the safety director says, I don't mind changing products. You have my vote as long as it doesn't increase my trash to it. And so that's what it comes down to. So, but yeah, I'm just going to hold like this pen, think of it as like a needle. And I always kind of think of it like a gun in a way, because the pointy end, you don't want to get stuck by it because you don't know what's on that needle.
Right. And so did your product actually create a buffer for that?
Yeah, yep, it creates it, but what happens, you have speed versus accuracy, and this is the kind of conversations I would have with a nurse. You're doing so many things, but once you use the needle, throw it away, don't go to something else, because all of a sudden you put it down in the bed sheets, someone comes and takes the bed sheets, picks them up and gets stuck by the needle, and then you have a needle stick, which is a liability to the hospital, because it can cost anywhere from $5,000 to $8,000 per needle stick that the hospital has to pay out, and you don't know what's on that needle.
Yeah. Let's shift gears. You mentioned that you've applied to about 250 companies, and that you've gotten interviews at a lot of them. Did I hear 80? Is that right? Yeah.
So I'm going to do a little book. And I write down each interview, and I have, this conversation we're having today with questions and answers that I have there, and I, kind of go through all of them so I can, keep track of that. And depending on what level of interviews that I do, an HR person isn't going to tell me what's the challenges in the territory, but the head of sales would tell me the challenges. So it's different conversations that I have and notes that I write down.
Do you write down a good interview question or a bad interview question?
It varies. Again, what has us having this conversation right now? What on my resume has a conversation, and at the what do you like? You've been there for 10 years. What do you like about the company? And blah blah blah. And then, okay, what would you like to see changed to it?
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about, I think we were referring to, but never really pushed through, the definition of insanity and the idea of doing the same thing every day and expecting a different result. Let's talk about the interview process. Do you typically get the first interview and maybe don't get a second interview, or do you get a second interview but not a third? Are you seeing any pattern?
It would be HR would be the first one. And then I would get with the regional manager or the manager that I'd be answering to. And then it just kind of dies out there. Sometimes it's a committee where it's two separate times of interviews. Mm-hmm. And then there was one, I was with the competition doing the exact same thing, and that went 4 interviews. And then it just died out at the end. And then I see the job posting still open, that they're still trying to recruit for it. So,
So there's a couple of things that happen there. One is they'll open it up, maybe get 200 applicants, and then they'll go through those 200 applicants. And if they don't find the right person they're looking for, they'll open it back up again. Or in some cases, they'll have multiple roles. And so I have a little bit of empathy from a recruiting standpoint here, where there may be multiple stories that create that mix of jobs that are out there in the marketplace. The thing I was going to ask you about is, are you able to self-assess at that spot where you're getting stuck? Because there might be a way where you could you use the term ageism, which to me is like it's such a big cloud, right? So I'd want to break it down a little bit more. Like in this role, can you listen to what they're asking, and can you start to like fill in what you think might be the objections as part of your story, which would then get you to that next level? And I don't know the particulars, right? But if you're getting to a second interview and then you're always getting stuck at that second or that third interview, let's just say we take ageism off the table. And because that's the narrative in your mind, is that maybe I'm an older candidate and they're looking for a younger candidate. Let's just say we say, hey, that's not true.
Yeah.
Or at least that's not the primary truth. That may be something that someone's thinking in the back of their head, but you can break through that barrier in your sales way, in the same way you would break through that barrier when you're trying to stop that nurse at 4:30 in the morning to get him or her to do that extra step with you, right? The objection is there, right? And so the hiring manager, the regional manager, whatever it was that you're talking to, may be thinking something in their head, but you can actually redirect that. And so I'm talking too much, so talk to me.
Yeah, you kind of you start hearing the kind of questions they're asking on it, and the questions I kind of ask on some of the interviews is, what's your learning process, and is there a mentor that I can learn the business from them as well? So that I'm showing that I'm open-minded, so they don't see, and I don't have the blinders on thinking, okay, I'm going against a bunch of 20-year-olds or 30-year-olds. I'm like, okay, right. I can do it and improve it, but I also want to prove that I'm open-minded to learning a better way of doing something.
Because you have a perspective that they might see you as not being open-minded?
It could be. Sometimes some people have asked me, how's your organizational skills? And I've always learned that for every customer that I have, I create a folder in my emails that conversations that way. But how's my organizational skills? And one thing I tell them is I restack the dishwasher. You go there and you see the dishwasher just totally like, who stacked this thing? And I'm like, that's how maybe it's the nerdiness or something like that, but it's like,
yeah. You might find out that that's a good example for some and not a good example for others. I find I load the dishwasher in a certain way. I'm actually going for every nook and cranny, right? And my wife's like, that's not going to get clean, right? And so she wants to reset it, right? Yeah. So there could be some emotion here in that stacking of the dishwasher.
Yeah, I say I don't need practice on how to wash dishes anymore.
Yeah, the main thing I want to try to coach you here without knowing enough is that if you're getting blocked at a certain spot, because to me it sounds like 250 applications to 80 interviews, bang, that's really good. That's 1 out of 3.2 or whatever it is, right? 3.1, and so that's way better than a lot of people.
Yeah.
Right. So let's just say the first narrative for me is I'm breaking through. Right. And then the second narrative is going to be, but I'm getting stuck. And if I'm getting stuck, am I stuck in my own head? This is ageism. They're going to call me out, whether they say it or not, and say that I'm older for the position. They want somebody younger. Why don't you just flush that narrative, and say, okay, I'm going to get this job, and I'm going to get this job on the merit of my curiosity. Mentoring may be one of those things that I'm open to learn from other people, but what do you know? And how can you attack a problem? And thinking about the energy moving toward you're a solution salesperson, and how can you push that forward? And I think what you may find out is that as that narrative shifts, I'm not saying it's not a challenge, right? Some people have it in their mind that they're looking for someone. They're not going to say that of a certain age, but there's a perception of what their company culture is. Let's say you go and look, I'm culture ad. I'm going to bring experience to the table, talk about the fact that you're willing to train others, but you can take a territory, you can knock down hard challenges. And I heard Madison describing that in the way you've described your experience. So I know you can do this, right?
Yeah. And
so then,
go ahead.
No.
Well, one thing I was telling it was in the other room. I've had people say, Ned, you give me the good news and you give me the bad news, and you tell it straight out. You don't mince it, and I'd rather hear the bad news early, so I can go look for something else than sugarcoating it or delaying the answer to it, and they appreciate that. And I just look at
right. But you're also already talking about the second order consequences of it not going well.
Yeah, especially in a hospital.
And
especially in the hospital,
right.
where they need there's a product that they actually need. It's
okay. So I wasn't sure whether you're talking about your own experience interviewing or if you're talking about when you're selling a product.
Yeah, no, and I always I try to say I want to be that consultant that you can come to and ask questions about it, and I give you options to it.
Sure.
And I give the example. You go to a restaurant, you want to see what the chicken, the meat, and the fish are like, and there's your options, and what are you kind of looking for dinner. So I like giving the options and telling you, well, the chicken's really good tonight, or the fish is great. We just got about something like that.
Yeah.
So
I think the other thing I mentioned it at sort of the top of the hour, but the idea that maybe you approach LinkedIn in a little bit different way. And I think that it's kind of seems like you've used LinkedIn for news, keeping an eye on things,
yeah.
right? And I noticed that because you saw one of the things that we had posted, and so I'd like to see if you could think about how could I contribute content to this platform. And it could start out in the form of the kind of comments that you're giving to others. I didn't go and audit that,
yeah.
right? But getting really active and commenting about the experiences that you've had and to try to tie that in. And then ultimately, sometimes when I'm doing a comment, I did this today. I did a comment about something about the way I'm publishing, and then I saved it because that's a post.
Yep.
Right. And so you may find out as you're commenting that you're using the content to get your mind in a certain way, and then you're writing, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, that's something I could share in a broader format. And that would be my recommendation. You need to do you.
And I know recruiters are looking for those. And I talk to recruiters,
absolutely.
and then they talk to them, and they, oh, you're great, and then it goes silent on it.
Right. And so they're going right to your LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Right. And they're going to your LinkedIn and saying, okay, it feels like Ned maybe isn't leaning in there. And there isn't any one solution or any one requirement here as a job seeker. But I think there is a requirement to reinvent yourself. You've been on this loop for 18 months. And so something isn't working. And so now it's like, okay, let me try something different. And I think what you're going to find out is as you're trying different things, that you're getting feedback. And some of that feedback will be like, I don't know why you're doing that. And other feedback will be like, wow, that's really interesting. And so my recommendation would be do a quick audit. How's my resume? Is it as good as it could be? I called out with everybody that you don't have any AI in your resume. And so that's just a recommendation that I have. That doesn't have to be what you do. And I would do that audit of your resume. I would look at your last 5 or 7, 8 interviews and say, what did I do well and what did I do poorly? Do that as an audit. Grade yourself. Give myself a B minus. Okay. So how am I going to make it a B plus? How am I going to make it an A minus? What would I have to do differently? And then just go try it in an interview and say, oh shit, it's a C. It didn't work, right? But you're evaluating yourself in an honest way with the idea that you're going to try to make a change because you don't want to have another year of another one of those, right?
Yep.
Okay. This isn't meant to be heavy, but I want to try to help. All right. And so, let me ask a few questions. Tell this Mick Jagger story. What the hell was that? Like that like, flashback.
I knew
like,
the
okay.
music stuff, and I knew the music stuff.
I've never met Mick Jagger. That sounds cool. Tell me that story.
So I was in college, Keene State, north of where you were, and I was working at a car rental agency. And so during the day, a travel agent from New York was calling up, and what's the weather like up there? And long as I might have someone coming up there to visit, and they want to know what the weather is, yada. So end of the day, I said, hey, I'm leaving for the day. Here's my boss's phone number. Call them. They can get in touch with me to get whoever's coming in the airport. So I get the phone call later on that night, and the guy goes, my boss says, oh, they're coming in. I guess it's an important person, so get a nice car for them. So I'm like, okay, and they gave me the airplane number, and it was Cessna, whatever, and came down, was at the airport, picked up a Camaro for him, saw the plane come in, 2-door Camaro, see 5 people and a lot of luggage. And I'm like, how am I going to fit? I'm like, oh my God. So then I turn away, and then I turn back, and I'm 30 feet, and I go, it's Mick Jagger. And I was supposed to pick up Michael Phillips Jagger. So it was Mick Jagger and Jerry Hall. Yeah. Came in, and they come in there, the people are asking for autographs like the pilots and stuff like that. And then I go, oh, hi, I'm here to pick you up. Well, I'm looking for Ned Hogan. And okay, where do I sign the paperwork? So I got to drive you down to the office just down the road a mile. So put the luggage in the car. Jerry Hall sits in the back. Mick Jagger's in the passenger seat. And I just drive down the road. And, we all put our pants on one leg at a time. And that's how I talk to people. And I said, well, yeah, before this, I was inner tubing with a 6-pack of beer, before this. And so got his thing. I said, oh, your Diners card's about to expire. And, oh, well, thank you very much. And
That's great.
Was it nice?
Yeah. And then on the way back, he came back, and we knew when he was flying back out. So we saw him, and I got his autograph. We got some pictures with him. And actually, I was a DJ in college at the time. So, it was like, oh, yeah, guess who I met today?
That's really
that's
cool.
very cool. So you like music. What's your favorite concert?
Oh, you're good So I'm going to put it this way. The top 3...
Do you like live music?
Yeah.
I mean, you have
Or are
a
you
whole
more an
box
album?
just for the Grateful Dead, so...
Yeah. So the top 3 concerts were The Clash, a tribute to Bob Marley, and the Rolling Stones, with Coldplay and YouTube as 4 or 5. Pick it that way.
Wow.
And,
very cool.
And going to Lansdowne Street and all the concerts. And as I told Madison, I used to throw all the ticket stubs in a drawer. And my wife at the time, at the end, took them and separated them and put them in butterfly boxes. So all the concerts are in one. The Ramones, Oingo Boingo, the B-52s, all this. Then there's sports, which is like the NHL All-Star Game, Johnny Carson Show with
Red
Johnny
Sox.
Carson. And then there's The Dead.
Nice. You got a lot of dead stuff.
85 dead shows.
Oh, wow. What's best live dead song?
It's just the mood you're in or something like that. But,
Yeah.
whatever it is, my license plate's Ripple.
Oh, that's cool.
So
Now, do you chase Fish or any other kind of jam band type?
no, yeah, all those things to it. And I've seen Fish once. I'd love to see Tedeschi Trucks at some time. I took my son to Billy Strings, and I've taught him just get the cheapest ticket you can get in the place and get inside, and then work your way to the floor on it. So
that was your father teaching
that was my
moment,
father
right?
and
You'll get there.
And
You
one
get
of the
there.
one of the great places I've seen, if you ask me like location, I've seen the Dead on the side of a beach in Ventura, but I'd say the old Forest Hills tennis courts, seeing the Talking Heads on the top row,
Nice.
turning around, having a six-pack of Heineken, turning around and looking at Manhattan. And then turning around and looking down at center court, and it's the Talking Heads.
That's amazing.
That's really
I like that whole era of music. It's great. All right. Well, Ned,
Thank you very much for
I hope
everything.
I hope this is helpful.
Thank you,
Yep.
Ned.
I think our idea is to be here as a resource as you're going through. I really want you to go and fill out your Boomband dossier because I think you've got some great stories here, and we got to get that Mick Jagger story in there. And
That's a boom. That is a
want
boom moment for sure.
I've also helped Steve Winwood in Logan Airport, and just taught, Steve, your luggage comes in over here, and just talk to it. Again, we all put our pants on one leg at a time, and you just talk to them like that. And
Yeah, that's great. All right. Well,
We'll see you back in the main
we're,
studio,
uh,
Ned.
yeah, we're wishing you good speed
Thank you very
in your
much.
search, and keep in touch with us. Let's go back to the main
Thank you.
studio.
Thank you.
Give me a sign if you love your life.
Okay.
So, welcome back to the showcase. Everyone's back together. That wasn't too bad, right?
Not at all.
No,
You
it was
all
great.
did great. You all
You
did
know
so
what's
great.
funny is the first couple episodes, people are like, "Oh, I don't know what's going to happen." Now there's thousands of episodes out there, right? So you have a chance to kind of watch through the episodes. You can see that it's I think a safe place. That's kind of the way we're trying to do it. And with each of you doing a little bit of real coaching, but also at the same time just giving you a chance to kind of sell yourself. So let me just get some quick reaction. Helpful, Dana?
Yes, it was. I took lots of notes.
Great. Harry?
Yeah, and refreshing. It was nice to have a conversation a little more personal and a little less following the template of a standard interview.
Yeah. And Ned?
Yep. No, it's great information, and also learning from Dana and Harry too.
Yeah, this little like secret thing here of now you guys are a tribe, right? I guess we don't say tribe anymore. You are a new set of besties. That you can sort of kind of
New
track each other's
connections.
careers now.
Share each other's networks.
So, I mean, I look at each of your scenarios. If I start with you, Dana, I loved your uncomfortable, but you're not uncomfortable in your job search so much as you are putting yourself in uncomfortable situations. That was like that thing, when somebody says, "Tell me about your weaknesses." All right. And you're like, okay, you want to turn that question, right? Like, I have a beautiful way to do that. I think that you make hard conversations human. I think that was great. I like your experience. I like your energy. I like where your experience is in the size of companies that are out there, that M&A work that you're interested in. I think that's very good. I think
Thank you.
if I bounce around a little bit, I think, Ned, you're in that spot that we regularly talk to seekers 18 months out. Is this really happening to me? In a marketplace where I've always felt that I had marketable skills, picked up jobs pretty regularly. Now you're in a different kind of a job market, right? And so thinking about how you reinvent your narrative, I think is maybe something that we spent a fair bit of time kind of coaching on. And I think your superpower of perseverance is just sweet in the middle of this, right? Like that's what you need. And then Harry, I look at your scenario. You haven't been out long enough to really feel the pain yet. I think you're getting really good traction in your interview process. So I think you just keep doing what you're doing. I think that combination of managing the noise, I think your mindset, your logic allows you to do that in a good way. I really don't want you to read me because I don't know what you're going to read. But I think the one thing I had mentioned earlier, that empathy, I think is so good, but this is maybe a moment where using your sales skills to sell yourself and let that empathy come in around the edges as opposed to kind of leading with it, I think will serve you well. I think each of you's got a nice shot here right now to kind of push over the next, let's say 90 to 120 days. And I want to wish you all kind of good speed in your process. This is what we do here, right? Just try to be human, or actually, you don't have to try to be human, but you don't get a chance to be. So, like, this is that chance. And Madison, you always do such a nice job of just kind of telling the story. I've been saying for a while now, what did she miss? She don't miss shit. She like hits it, right? And so I think I have to stop asking that question. And then, everyone is sort of the same way. It's like, hey, can I take this little clip or bring you with me? And I think that's a nice compliment to you, Madison. That's good. So
we have 3 great players here. And like I said, on all of our shows, it's so fun to get to know all of our players. And I'm proud of each and every one of you. And I'm proud of you for putting yourself out there. And I have no doubt that great things are going to be coming your way very soon.
I know that some of you want to talk to these guys. And so the way you can reach out is you just go to showcase@boomband.com. Madison will connect you. You can go to LinkedIn and you can find Ned, or you can find Dana, or you can find Harry. They've all kind of described what they want to do next. And I just want to give you good speed out in the marketplace. So thank you for being here.
Thank you
very much.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much.
Woo!
All right, what a great show. I love hearing the stories. I like getting human. Get out from behind that resume and meet our players. If you're interested in any of them, email us at showcase@boomband.com. And give me a sign that you love your life. Come see us next week.
Give me a